to Drop Bear and Panda.
Save the World.
Episode
83.
Yeah.
My energy is low. Sorry about that, guys.
I'll make up for it.
Okay.
Oh.
The nice thing is when I cough and wheeze and try not to die, you can just edit my track out.
Yeah, that's right. Maybe I'll just put you on mute the entire time and it'll be the Drop Bear show.
And the listeners can just fill in the blanks with other things.
With the witty comments that you would say. So just to bring you up to speed, dear listeners, Panda has been absolutely smoked by the COVID.
Yeah.
Our last episode, which was like a month ago, right?
Yeah, it's been a month.
Oh, man.
So it's been over a month since I got it. Because the last time we did it, it was...
brand new.
But it was over phone or Zoom.
Yeah, we did the Zoom thing because I hadn't been at the house. And I was awaiting my results.
Yeah.
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 So I found out that I was negative.
Yeah.
And then I got whisked away to a place called Camp COVID, which we'll talk about in a minute.
Yeah.
But you got absolutely leveled by this thing.
Yeah. The funny thing is while we were doing that podcast, I had actually said, I just feel like I have a really bad cold. So if this is the worst of it, I'm golden. I think you could quote me on that. I think that's legit what I said. And then 5 days later, I was in the emergency department because on day 10, you can come off of isolation if you're doing well.
Yeah.
But actually on day 10, you can either start getting better or you can take a nosedive, and I took a nosedive.
Yeah, what did the doctor say? Either you are done or things get interesting.
Yeah, quote unquote, things get interesting, and things got really interesting. I wound up, TMI maybe, I wound up coughing so hard because my cough was getting really bad. I ended up coughing so hard that I was vomiting and I couldn't breathe, and I was gasping for air on the bathroom floor, legit wondering if I was going to die. And that's not something that anyone should ever experience, especially somebody, well, really anybody. I don't want to say especially anyone in particular, but for somebody who was told that I was average risk and I have no other health concerns at all, that was not something that I expected to happen. So I was rushed to the emergency department. I didn't have to stay, which was nice because my oxygen sats were still good and my blood pressure was still good. But I was in the emergency department for the better half a day, probably about 6.5 hours. And I had pneumonia in one of my lungs. So it was a great day.
Well, I'm glad they caught it early. And part of that too was that, you had a doctor that was following you every 2 days, checking in on you, making sure that, you had that support, which I think is just amazing. Like, I can't say enough good things about Alberta Health. Yeah.
Well, the funny thing is 2 days before that, because I seemed like I was doing better. They said that they weren't going to call me on that day 10. I actually called them because they said, if anything changes, you call us. And I called them and they said, and I couldn't get any words out without coughing. And they said, you need to. Yeah, off you go. Yeah, you need to go. Man. So, and that's why we didn't have a podcast 2 weeks ago, is because I still couldn't talk without. Yeah, and you're still struggling. Well, I'm actually trying not to talk very loud, because if I talk too much or if I move too much, I sound like my example is Stevie from Malcolm in the Middle.
Let's start with you. Well, it's like this.
Where I have to take deep breaths for every few words that I say. So I'm really trying not to. This might be the most boring podcast you guys will ever listen to. And I'm trying not to laugh and I'm trying not to move. But when you move around more than from the sofa to the kitchen to make some tea and back again, that's when I really notice that I can't breathe. I went to work for half days this week because I'm not contagious anymore. And so they let me go back to work very slowly. And from walking from the elevator to my office, I couldn't do it. Like I was gasping for breath by the time I got to my office. So it's going to be a really long haul. This must be what asthma and emphysema feels like because it is awful.
A family member of mine who's a doctor said that to pass along to you, not to get too stressed about the recovery because it's a long road. He said that basically it's 2 weeks for every day that you're down with this thing. So that's something just to keep in mind is that, you've got a ways to go. And don't, get down on yourself too much that it's taking you a while to get there.
Fingers crossed, July.
July, yay.
Yeah, so I've been trying to avoid all the social media stuff about COVID and the comment sections and whatever, because I was telling you that I feel like the most hated kind of person in the world right now, because you've got a group of people who say that I deserve COVID because I clearly wasn't careful enough, which is bullshit because...
You are the most careful person I think anybody in our, in our social circle knows or has ever seen.
Yeah, to the point of you rolling your eyes and getting very frustrated with me. And then there's the group of people who think that I am a part of some sort of government conspiracy against...
the COVID cabal.
Yeah, against small businesses and...
We have found the witch, may we burn her? Burn her! Who do you know she is a witch? She looks like one! Bring her forward.
There's the group of people who think that I'm clearly over the age of 90 and have asthma and probably cancer and all the medications I take for all my hidden healthcare problems have made me susceptible to this quote unquote flu. Yeah. So clearly that's why I got so sick. So it's the callousness that you see online is really awful, and it does a big number to your mental health as well.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
It's we're going to be dealing with this for a long, long time.
Oh,
so
yeah.
It's
it wasn't COVID. I was just clearing my throat. I had a carrot stuck in it. You were going, as you were going through this, probably one of the worst parts. Well, God, there's so many worst parts, but a worst part was the fact that you had to do it alone, which sucks. I ended up getting shuttled off to a place I affectionately called Camp COVID, and I wrote about it at length on my website.
You were a star.
Yeah, I had my 15 minutes of fame for sure. But you're right about the crazy people that come out in the comments, because my experience was, I have to make the best of the experience. I was happy that I was negative, obviously. But really,
this is so fun.
Yeah, but distraught too that I couldn't be there to help. But as Alberta Health says, I couldn't go home and I couldn't stay in my studio, so they sent me off to Camp COVID, which was the Ramada Plaza Hotel downtown.
Ramada Plaza.
Yeah, it's Ramada Plaza, and I was stuck in a hotel room. I couldn't leave, couldn't see anybody for 14 days. And there's been lots of stories in the news lately about some really bad experiences people have had, but overall mine was actually quite good. I've got Marnie Crow and Terry and Kenny and Thomas, Tony, Petra, Valentine, Ruby, and Chris are all the people that were basically looking after me at the hotel over those 14 days. And they did such a great job. And I'm very grateful to the Alberta government and to Alberta Health for giving me that opportunity, because I had no place to go. And I didn't want to get sick. And, because that just puts puts my life at risk. It puts other people's lives at risk. It, impacts our healthcare system. There's just so many reasons. But man, the comments, like this one guy was so mad at me. He wished that I got bed bugs for life.
Which is amazing. Well, I mean, at least he didn't wish you death or something.
Is that worse than death? I don't know. But I mean, I laughed. I mean, you have to take these things with a grain of salt. I always say don't read the comments. But in this case, I was reading comments because people are so ill-informed and they're so galvanized about this that, here's the thing. Firsthand, believe what I say or don't. It's real. It happens. It's horrible. I wouldn't wish it on anybody. And we need to continue to do the stuff that we need to do to protect ourselves and protect our healthcare system. So get your head out of your ass and wear a mask. Wear 2 masks. That's a new thing. Wear fucking 4 masks. Put them on your head as like little antlers. I don't know.
Well, and they were very upset with the fact that, taxpayers are paying for this. The funny thing is well, I shouldn't say funny, but the number of people in emergency department behind the walls, not in the waiting room, but behind with the paramedics when I was there was unreal.
Well, you said there's people in hallways, like literally.
Yeah, they were literally in the hallways waiting. Man. And the amount that costs to have people in emergency, let alone being admitted into the hospital, is astronomical. Like it's thousands and thousands and tens and 20s and 30s of thousands of dollars, right? So to have you stay in a hotel and not get anyone else sick so they're not in the hospital saves us. Like it costs the taxpayer stuff because socialized medicine, it's one of the great benefits of being Canadian. Mm-hmm. But you being in that hotel room saves the province millions of dollars. Yeah. Like their argument is moot. Like it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It just boggles my mind.
Yeah.
So
but anyway, so the I'm grateful, and at once, I mean, it's horrible. You make the best of a bad situation. You've got a ways to go before you're fully recovered, and people need to stop being dicks.
Well, and they're basically just putting a dollar sign on someone's life is what it's coming down to, because most people are just complaining about the dollar sign.
$1 million.
Yeah,
that's basically it.
Yeah,
is what I'm seeing for the most part. It's all about money.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So
it's weird, and you got to try not to let it do a number in your head. So if you have COVID and you're listening to this, or you had it, or whatever, I mean, just there's lots of support as well. By the way, for certain in Alberta, I got calls regularly from the mental health people checking in on me to make sure that I was okay.
I didn't.
So you couldn't talk.
It's true. But, COVID hits everybody differently, right? Like the doctor, again, like the doctor I talked to, she said that she talked to an 87-year-old man who
just rolling
had the sniffles,
wow.
And yet it killed 2 20-year-olds last month. So it's a crazy world we live in. And we should probably get to some weirder news.
DBP News right now.
Okay, so just because, I mean, why not? There's the idea that maybe you do things to yourself. You got COVID because of something you did, and that's not true. But sometimes some people do things to themselves. For example, try and set their hair with Gorilla Glue.
I don't get it. And she read the instructions and it says, don't put on your skin, but hair isn't skin. So she was like, I'm going to do this. Why? Like, just what would make anybody? She thought it would wash out.
Yeah, but why put it in her hair? Like, was it a TikTok, YouTube-y thing? Like,
no.
Tessica Brown is her name. She's 40. Like, she's a grown woman.
Yeah.
She has kids.
Yeah, I thought maybe it was going to be like a 14-year-old girl, but even when I was 14, I mean, I've done some stupid things, like draw on your skin with permanent marker. It burns, so you're like, I shouldn't do this, but Gorilla Glue in your hair. I used to know people who would put glue in their hair to make mohawks, like foot tall mohawks, and it would destroy your hair, but it was still, I'm pretty sure, like white glue, like the Elmer's white glue.
And I used to use toothpaste back in the 80s too.
I'm a tube of toothpaste on the shelf. I get so lonely all by myself. When it comes to nighttime,
hear me shout.
Just twist the lid off and
squeeze me out.
Yeah, Colgate and White Crest would pop it up.
Really?
Yeah. It was a TikTok video which went super viral. So
it was,
yeah. And you know, people were like, you know, making jokes that, you know, they could use the Gorilla Glue drop for eye drops and stuff like that. Just don't do it. Like, just don't.
She had to go to a
plastic surgeon or something.
Plastic surgeon to get it done. And he ended up using, it's going to sound really bad, but science to get it to fix it. Like it was, he used acetone and like aloe vera, and like he was able to figure out how to do it, but it still took 4 hours to get the Gorilla Glue out. She had to cut the ponytail off. They had to put her under light sedation, and it would have cost, if she paid for it, $12,000.
Oh my God.
I think.
Jesus.
But like Gorilla Glue, like, did she do it for TikTok, or did she just put it on TikTok?
I think, because what I read briefly was that she did it on TikTok as a thing. Like,
I mean, it looked fantastic. Her hair was like smooth and
shellacky.
But
I was surprised that they couldn't cut it, like just
shave it. Yeah, it was probably too close to her scalp.
Oh, anyway, don't do it, people. Just don't.
So so toothpaste in your mohawk.
Yeah.
Did it just harden?
Yeah.
Explain this to me, because I'm going to cough for a bunch. So I want you to explain to the listeners how you did that.
You just hang upside down and you just work toothpaste into your hair. Not a lot, right? Because it is still a bit of a liquid. But yeah, you just rub it in and hang upside down and pop it up.
You smelled really good.
It smelled great.
Did it make your eyes water?
No.
Toothpaste. Like, just.
Yeah.
We need.
I mean, I've got a spiffy mohawk. We can always do like an experiment.
How tall was your mohawk at the time?
I was pretty like this tall.
That's so not tall at all.
No. Yeah. Like, I don't know, like I've seen the people with the big spiked mohawks and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and
those people use the glue.
Yeah, Elmer's glue for sure.
But it totally destroyed your hair though. Their hair wasn't nice.
Yeah.
Because those mohawks looked disgusting.
Oh yeah.
But they sure stood up.
Yeah.
Like you'd hit it in a doorway and it wouldn't move. You'd probably like peel your scalp back if you hit it. Really?
Yeah.
Toothpaste. I mean, I remember, so my older sister back in like the 90s, she had like the big fan.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
oh my God.
Bangs.
Yeah.
Just a lot of hairspray.
Well, we used to.
Toothpaste.
And we would pierce our ears with safety pins and rubbing alcohol.
I did that. Yeah.
Just book, book, book.
Yeah. That's why.
Going through the cartilage was the hardest.
Yeah, I did that. One of them, I've got a permanent dot on the back on one of my ears because I ended up it didn't work out very well, but I tattooed a little dot because I used a pen first, so I knew where to put the pin through. So now there's a permanent tattoo. There's a permanent little blue dot on my ears, but that's why I like my earlobes. So at the front, they're all evenly spaced, but on the back, they're not evenly spaced.
Oh, hilarious.
Yeah, my piercer, Rick, was so mad at me when he found out, because he's like, why are all your holes on your lobes all like weirdly spaced? And I had to tell him I did them myself, and he yelled at me.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So funny.
That's what happened.
That's wicked.
What else is in the news?
Those people that got stuck on a deserted island in the Caribbean, which doesn't sound like a bad thing, but they're from Cuba. There's 3 of them. I think. And they got stuck on an island for 3 months.
No,
3 weeks.
33 days.
33 days.
You got one of the numbers right.
It was a 3 something. There's a lot of threes.
3. 3 people, 33 days.
33 days. But their boat capsized.
It's actually written on the whiteboard.
Well, I'm wearing my close-up glasses, so I can't actually see the whiteboard. I'm doing the control stuff with the computery things, so I need these glasses, and I just can't get bifocals yet. Maybe I will in the future. Anyway, so these 3 people capsized a boat in the Caribbean. They managed to get to a deserted island.
Just sit right back and you'll hear a tale of a fateful trip that started from this tropic port aboard this tiny ship.
Not unlike Gilligan's Island, from what I understand, except that they didn't have fresh water, or it was really difficult for them to harvest fresh water. But they ended up building like a sign, and they got some attention of an airplane that dropped some food and supplies and a radio, but they had to leave because like it was a storm, a 3-hour tour, and but they ended up coming back to get them, and they got rescued after 33 days.
They ate coconuts and conches, which I thought were just shells. So
there's stuff inside the conch, but
like what? Like
it's
crabs?
Yeah, like a snail.
Ew.
I think it's like a big snail.
Ugh.
Could be wrong.
And rats.
Escargot. Rats. It reminds me of that movie with that Dances with Wolves, when Kevin Costner eats all those mice, and he has like just finds different ways to cook up mice. There's like little mouse kebabs and mouse witches. And
I'm glad that's what you got from that movie. Just how many different ways to eat mice.
And it is his wolf named Two Socks.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So that's what I go with. But rats would be like the big Kahuna burger, whereas you'd have to eat a lot of mice to get the same amount as a rat. I mean, how many mice to a rat do you think?
Depends on the rat.
Yeah.
My mom used to live in Chicago
rats.
when she was a kid, and the rats were like the size of cats, she said.
Oh my God.
Like they were massive. And that's without the tail, I think.
Yeah, I had a friend of mine got chased down a back alley in Seattle by a bunch of rats.
Ugh.
Yeah. He had to go pee real bad, and he decided to go into a doorway, and all these spotlights came on as soon as he whipped it out. And then all these rats stormed out of the back alley, the garbage dumpsters and stuff like that. And he was just running down the back alley towards me. It was pretty funny. So
the rats came towards the light?
Yeah.
Instead of away from the light?
Yeah.
Really?
Seattle rats.
I find that very strange.
Yeah.
Huh. So to get back to the island.
Yeah.
So these guys were able to make like a flag.
Yeah.
And a big cross with, I'm assuming, with the rocks.
Yeah.
And I guess a plane saw it.
Yeah.
You know, sort of like a big SOS. And I don't know why they did a cross instead of like an SOS.
Maybe so God would see it.
Like, God was in that airplane? I don't know.
Right.
It seemed kind of weird.
Jesus is my co-pilot.
Yeah. But I guess, they said that if they didn't, because coconuts have water, right? Like the water.
Yeah, but I think you get pretty diuretic with coconut water. Could be wrong.
Really?
Yeah.
But it's not like real water though. So it's, So, I mean, if you don't have real water, I guess they were saying that if they didn't have, they wouldn't have lasted too much longer. They were doing pretty well for being there for a month, but without the water, they wouldn't have lasted, I think, too much longer sort of thing. They would have started going downhill pretty quickly. So,
and I wonder what stuff they were able to salvage from the boat, if anything. Like I didn't really say in the.
Well, I bet you they wouldn't have had drills and, giant welding helmets and gloves and stuff.
Not quite like the Great Escapists.
Ugh.
Now it's time for Drop Bear and Panda's Reviews.
I really enjoyed the TV show Top Gear.
The first seat, because they have a different seat. But they also do Grand Tour, right?
Yeah. So I really enjoyed Top Gear, and some aspects of the Grand Tour. You know, the guys, James May and Richard Hammond and the other guy.
You mean like guy. The main guy that you don't know his name?
Yeah, that guy.
What's his name?
Jeremy Clarkson.
Jeremy Clarkson.
The main guy.
Dude 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, the super obnoxious guy. Actually, they're all pretty obnoxious in their own way. But
well, James May, they just make fun of the whole time.
Yeah, and it's got to feel bad, poor guy.
I'll tell you why I don't now.
He did what was that show that James May did where he went to Japan?
I think it was like James May in Japan or something
James May
like that.
Cooks or something like that.
Well, he wasn't a chef, but no. I don't know. But
yeah, it was terrible.
Yeah, I was really excited about it, but he seemed like pretty xenophobic in it, which made me not like him.
It was uncomfortable.
Yeah, it made me uncomfortable, and I just... so I feel very differently about him after seeing that.
Now, Richard Hammond is he's sort of my favorite guy of the Top Gear crew. Like, I really enjoyed him. So when this new show came out,
little guy.
A little guy, yeah. I identified with him, I guess, you know, more so than any of the others. And this new show came out called The Great Escapist, where him and the other guy, Tony Bellucci. However you pronounce his name.
He was from Mythbusters. Yeah, and I didn't even recognize him.
No.
I need to stop talking, so you go.
Yeah. Well, so anyway, they end up, the premise is that they get marooned on a deserted island and they have to, you know, basically construct their way off of the island. And it sounds like a great premise for a show. And again, I like Richard Hammond and I love Mythbusters. And I had real high hopes for this show. And the location was beautiful. Like, it was, I would love to live on that island. But God, the show was dumb. Like, I couldn't stand it. The main reason is that it wasn't, okay, I know this is going to sound stupid. It obviously wasn't real. Like, they weren't actually inventing stuff. Pretty much everything they needed, from acetylene torches to, you know, motors to all this other stuff, was there. You know, yeah, the masks for the welding helmets and stuff like that. Like, who has that on a boat that you get shipwrecked? Like, it was a little
fishing boat. Like, how do you, like,
no.
Freaking stupid.
Yeah. And, you know, before you know it, they've suddenly got this castle that's built there.
But they didn't show you how to do it. Like,
no, I just missed that whole, you know, spirit of adventure and ingenuity.
If they had one episode of like how they were going to build a shelter, and actually showed you how to do it.
Yeah, with how are they going to build like the lines to hold the things
with
and the supports,
palm trees and stuff. But all of a sudden, like, you blink and they've got like a 3-story building with all these. Like, it just, and then they had these poorly scripted parts, and you could tell it was scripted, but they were playing themselves, and then they were suddenly looking back because they were captured by the Panama Gestapo.
Yeah, the government. And they're in this room, and it was so bad.
They're terrible actors, and it was almost like it was aimed towards 6-year-olds.
Which maybe it was.
I don't think it originally was supposed to.
But I don't know.
It was awful.
I think as a 6-year-old, I'd be sick of it.
It was awful.
Like
an awful show.
Yeah, I didn't like their boats that they kept trying to make. It was, I don't know. It was. I give it 1 out of 5 drop airs.
0.5 pandas.
Okay, that's totally fair. Yeah, 1 might be generous.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. That is a must avoid.
I mean, if it was like
and that's on Amazon Prime, by the way.
Yeah, and it's funny because I was thinking, I'm like, well, let's see how they do Survivor without the bikinis and how it goes.
Yeah.
I was legit thinking how they could do something cool with, they're on a deserted island and the only thing they have is the stuff from the boat.
Right.
So I'm like, how are they going to, sort of like how you can learn how to survive, sort of like a Survivor Man thing.
Yeah.
But the 2 guys are actually, well, they're kind of sciencey,
and they're brilliant.
Techies.
And one's more mechanic, the other one's more science.
Yeah,
it's like Donnie and Marie, a little bit country, a little bit rock and roll.
Yeah, and how they're going to get the fresh water from this place down to here. They have to construct something, but
can they generate electricity from the tidal current, like using
how they're going to get an SOS thing out, but in order to do this, they have to deconstruct the thing that they made the day before.
Yeah.
You know,
so much potential.
But where did the welding masks come from? And
the bike,
the torches,
the bike. One day, Richard is just riding along on a bike.
It was the dumbest thing I've ever seen. We didn't even finish it.
No,
I think it's 5 episodes, and we did 2.
Yeah, it's unwatchable.
It was garbage.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and we really wanted it to be good. And we went in not knowing anyone else had seen it.
Yeah.
Without any other reviews.
Yeah. So it was, this is, I think by halfway through, we were both kind of looking at each other like, this could get better.
Well, no, we didn't watch it together. Remember, we did it through, because
I was away. Yeah.
So we actually,
I was looking at Brad the Lamp.
Yeah. So, excuse me, we actually both decided it was bad, separate from each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. It's funny what the brain remembers.
Yeah, it's funny because we were texting each other about it and trying to have date night, but not together in the same across from the opposite side of the city. Yeah. And it's funny. I almost think that if it was the MythBusters crew or the Top Gear crew,
sure,
would have been better than
this mashup. These
2 guys.
Yeah. Well, I think that Richard Hammond he played this superstar douche, in comparison with the Brainiac from.
Well, and the first 10 minutes was kind of funny because at first Richard Hammond was like, it's me. Nobody's going to care about rescuing, the other guy, which I laughed because that was probably the only funny part in the entire show.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was shite. Don't even bother.
Yeah, don't do it.
Yeah. So we're gonna save your world by telling you not to watch it, or watch it if you want to see something that's terrible.
Yeah.
I need to stop talking again.
Yeah. Good times. Yep. So we're just gonna do a quick commercial break for our amazing sponsor,
Sock Rocket
Canada.
Sock Rocket, a Sock Rocket. Buy a pair of socks. The Sock Rocket team will give away 3. That's a lot of socks. Or get the Sock of the Month Club. Sock Rocket socks, gonna rock the socks. Sock Rocket socks, gonna rock the socks. Sock Rocket socks, gonna rock the socks. Sock Rocket socks, get a sock subscription. Get yourself socks, get some kids socks. Get a box of 20 socks, get a sock subscription. Get some custom socks, custom socks. Sock Rocket socks are socks for socks. Sock Rocket.
It's time
for Drop Bear and Panda to save the world.
So we decided that what we'd like to do to save the world is encourage other people to save the world and save other people. So we wanted to put out a very special thank you to people who saved our world in some ways. For both Drop Bear and Panda, we had Trevor and Lanchi Deck from Too Cool Motorcycle School reach out to us and ask what they could do to help. And they delivered supplies to us, both at the hotel and at the house. And I just can't tell you how much that means when you're, isolated and stuck and can't do anything for yourself.
And I'm actually going to, I know I said I wasn't going to say anything, but I'm going to say something. A lot of people actually reached out and said, if you need anything, let me know.
Yeah.
But they dropped stuff off to us without us asking or requesting it. They just did it anyway, which is why we're
specifically we're not. I think that's a very great point, because lots of people called me as well. I know that they called you. I had some video chats with people just checking in to make sure I was doing great, and we do appreciate that as well. Of course, we're going to single out Trevor and Lanchi specifically because they went and did it, and they dropped stuff off multiple locations, which was just so amazing.
Yeah, we didn't ask, they just did. I was at home and heard the doorbell ring, which actually made me anxious because I had COVID and can't answer the door, and people don't usually ring my doorbell anyway.
Good thing we got the Nest doorbell.
Yeah, and opened the door, and there was Chips and Salsa just sitting on the on the porch with a Too Cool Motorcycle School sticker on it. Didn't ask for it. They just knew that Chips and
Crunch
Salsa,
and gush.
Crunch and gush, because I still have no taste and smell, but crunchy things with a hint of gushy is a texture that seems to be pleasing to me. So they just dropped it off just because. So
and then they went and hit the hotel where I was staying and dropped off a bunch of stuff there for me as well, including licorice, and cherry juice for my Uncle Gout that was giving me problems, which was a lifesaver. So thank you so much to you guys. Also, we're going to send out a pair of socks to another guy named Andy Fennell, who owns Gravity Wine and Espresso Bar here in Calgary, in Inglewood and Beltline. And he, out of nowhere, shot me a note, said, "Hey, can I drop you off like a coffee and a muffin or something like that?" Because he was reading about my adventures of Camp COVID. And I'm just like, oh my God, like I would love a latte. But he brought me a latte, brought me muffins, he brought me a bacon quiche. Like, it was one of those things where it was just like the little things after being isolated from humanity, just to have somebody reach out and then, make the effort to, bring something to you to help make your life a little bit better. So we want to celebrate you guys.
I suggest that when I can taste and smell again, that Gravity would be a place that we should go to, because I bet you a latte from there would be delicious.
Oh, so good.
Because right now my coffee is just brown water.
Yeah, brown water.
Yeah.
I feel so bad for you.
You should, because I don't even have the pleasure of dopamine hitting my brain when I eat.
Oh.
You think I would have gotten skinnier, but nope. Grilled cheese sandwiches, though.
That's Crunch and Gush.
I've been living off of those for a long time.
Grilled cheese. I hope you're ready, 'cause we got a date. I just can't wait to get home and put you on my plate. Grilled cheese sandwich. The butter will start melting when I light the flame, 'cause the butter and the cheese are gonna play a little game. It's called melting on the bread. Don't need a burger, don't need no shake. I'll laugh in your face if you offer me cake. Don't waste my time with your Brussels sprouts. If you make me a steak, I'll just throw it out. I want a grilled cheese, not a BLT. Grilled cheese. Are you following me? Grilled cheese. I love you more than any other. I think I'm gonna make another grilled cheese, if you please.
Oh, you're gonna have an angioplasty.
I know. Whatever.
Well, I've been Drop Bear.
I'm Panda.
We've been Drop Bear and Panda. Save the world.
Be good to each other.
Yeah, wear a mask.
Huge thanks to our sponsor, Sock Rocket, at sockrocket.ca.
This podcast was recorded at the Drop Bear and Panda studio at Sea Space King Edward.
Special thanks to Emery Quartz for the kick-ass theme music.
Yo. Don't forget to subscribe.
It's Drop Bear and Panda, yo. Drop Bear and Panda, yo. Drop Bear and Panda, coming at you, Panda. Coming at you like a locomotive on a motherfucking bender. Yeah, that's my culture, now my chap, follow me. Yeah, with Michael Doggies, yeah, you be checking on the flow, yo. Checking flow, choose quick, you can't pick my medical ranges, angles, tangles. You get tangled, twisted side reflections, child should be. Can't compete with the owls that devour. Yeah, with the owls that devour, yeah. Yeah, it's a Drop Bear and Panda, coming at your randa. Drop Bear and Panda, coming at your randa. Drop Bear and Panda, coming at your randa. It's like a locomotive filled with autonomous chopper. Drop Bear and Panda, coming at your randa. It's like a locomotive filled with autonomous chopper. Drop Bear and Panda.